athletic coach come to us from California, John Ronquez. I think when he pulled into the King's Academy, you'd ask him, he was very disappointed because the gymnasium was not finished, and a lot of things weren't there that maybe he had been told that were going to be there.
Yeah. Mr. Ronquez, he was the best.
Yeah.
He's the one that probably marked my life the most as a coach and as a Bible teacher.
Every program we started was from the ground up, and so naturally I had to be the coach of a lot of those teams.
I know he set a state record for having 10 straight district championships, and my senior year was the 10th one that he won, and we're just so proud of what we were able to accomplish with him and his teaching.
There was a lot of great players that came through, a lot of great athletes. You know, you could name a lot of them, but the constant factor in that whole time is John Ronquez and what he did.
You know, one coach stands out in my mind, and that's Jeff Loveland, who's now the president of the school.
He had these black shoes that he wore all the time, like every day, and they weren't like advanced sneakers. They're like old people's shoes, but he could wax us on the field when he ran them, and I'm like, okay, well, gotta respect him. But he was great. He's a great coach and a good friend to this day. Yeah.
Well, I started coaching about January 1980. I started coaching junior high, and I took over football. I don't even remember what year, but some great teams and great kids along the way, and not always great seasons, but those kids worked hard. I had some great players.
He taught me that if you're going to be a true leader, you've got to be the one sacrificing. It's not you do this, you do that. It's you're going to be the guy that's going to die to self for the betterment of the team. And I'm telling you, that message that he really ingrained in my heart and in my mind at 16, 17, 18 years of age is really what's equipped me to be A, the leader of my home, B, help lead an NFL organization, and really gain the respect that I've been able to gain around the league.
We had football practice, and Coach Loveland we're working hard and everything. And then one of the players, I think, used profanity, used God's name in vain. And I saw the anger on Coach Loveland's face. He said, "How dare you use my God's name in vain like that?" And it just made a point for me, like, you know what, his compassion for the Lord, his just his desire to be holy and serving the Lord, he wasn't going to tolerate that because he knew how precious the name of the Lord was.
I was involved with starting the track team here, and girls and boys, and one of my fond memories was the first year we ever had a track team. We went to the state meet, and I was sitting in the stands at a pre-meet meeting, and they were asking for the boys' track coach. And they said, "We're having a track coach meeting here for the boys." And I said, "Well, that's me, and I'm the boys' track coach." And that was kind of weird. And we had some kids that did very well in track, and we had a track program without a track.
It was a small school, so therefore you could be involved in a lot of things that candidly, if I had gone to public school, I wouldn't have got to do. For example, if you wanted to be on the track team, you just had to show up and run. And that was great. I got to go to state. If I went to a public school, I never would have had that opportunity because candidly, I was okay. I wasn't fantastic, but they said if you got heart, we're taking you.
I remember in softball, we actually got second place at state. We went to state, and it was a really exciting time, and we played really well. And
I wasn't coaching baseball at the time, but we won a state championship with Wayne Sewell as the coach.
And the baseball team decided to show some unity. They were doing well and were facing some difficult games, and they all bleached their hair blonde. Well, that was quite a shock to arrive on campus and see, especially Chris. They had to use so much peroxide on his hair that it burned his scalp, and he had blisters.
The 2 years I was here, we had great seasons. You know, we never lost a game at home. And as a coach, I always told that to my players. It was fun playing at a place where you knew you were going to win.
And a couple of years later, I took over the volleyball program. And I was fortunate enough to have some wonderful kids. And in 1993 and 1994, we won back-to-back state championships.
Nelson Loveland was a huge sports fan. He was definitely there all the games, very supportive, whether it was football, basketball. He was definitely active in terms of, hey, I'm here to support you guys.
And we used to call him Big Daddy Loveland back in the day, and that was just really fun for us because he would come to a lot of our games and he would support us, and he would always give us a hug.
The thing I remember most is the old gymnasium.
Friday nights in our gym, just packed to the rafters with students, and it was hot and steamy.
Teams used to hate to come there.
And of course, you know, it was a matchbox, And we really had a home court advantage there.
Was probably playing the semifinals in the Matchbox against this team. I don't remember what team they were. They had like a 6'5", 6'7" dude who was like a beast. I mean, imagine Shaq in high school. That was this guy. So the gym was packed, one side, because only one side had bleachers, packed gym, people outside, people standing in the doorways, and we were so close to getting to go to state. And I remember sitting on the bench thinking, man, is this possible? Can we go to state and beat this like huge school? It was like, and we did it, and we went to state, and the place erupted, and it was incredible. And that was probably one of my best memories.
Watching our teams go from, as I said, to where we didn't know which end of the ball was up to where we were winning state championships was very gratifying. And I was grateful for the opportunity to be a part of all that.
If you would have asked me, do you want to be the president or do you think you will be the president, I would have said absolutely not. I never dreamed that would happen. So when the board asked me to do that, I didn't say yes right away. I can remember talking to my wife about it and asking her what she thought. I think she said, well, who else is going to have as much passion about King's Academy? And I thought about that, and I thought, well, there won't be anybody else, because I went to school there, I'd worked there, I loved working there. I love kids, and working with kids has been, just been the love of my life.
Jeff Loveland was a sophomore the first year that I was at King's, 1972-73. And as I said, he was one of the best athletes that I ever coached, best all-around athletes. And to see him turn around and coach and teach and keep moving up the ladder to where there at the end he was signing my paychecks, as the president of the academy, again, very gratifying.
I think that airplane wreck was probably some of the motivation for the airport to come talk to us. So the FAA had set money aside to move schools out of that area. Nobody had taken advantage of that. No other school had done that. But our connections with Herb Kahlert, who had been the county engineer for many years, and his two boys had come through King's, talking with us and helping us through the process.
A whole series of events occurred through the administration. I was close to Nelson Loveland, and standing on the edge of the soccer field, many times we would talk about where's the school going in the future. And there was several events that I think helped perpetuate us to this location.
And I remember that, I think it was on a Sunday, I went to church, and somebody at church asked me if I had seen the newspaper that morning. And I said, I haven't seen the newspaper. And he said, well, you need to see it, because King's Academy was on the front page. And there was a big article about the whole negotiation and what had happened, and there was really a lot of accusations about how that had been done, and that there was
sweetheart deal.
Yeah, there were behind-the-scenes deals and different things that we were being accused of, and of course none of it was true. We had several meetings in front of the county commission back then for different approvals along the way, as we looked at the deal with the airport and so forth. And so we had to meet not too long after that. It must have been 2 or 3 weeks after that they had to approve this final deal that we were working on. And I can remember coming into my office, which was his office, now my office, that morning of the meeting. And I got down on my knees and prayed, because I felt like I kept saying, how am I ever going to feel good about this? And in the back of my head, as I was praying, I'm thinking, if I had a unanimous decision from the county commission, that would do it. I didn't even pray that. I didn't have that much faith. I just was a thought in the back of my head. Up until that time, the 2 or 3 times that we had been to the county commission, first of all, they were never all there. And a few times they had been there, but before they voted on our issue, several of them had gotten up and left. before the vote. And so we went down to the county commission chambers that morning. Bruce Pelly, the director of airports, talked to me and really felt like it probably wasn't going to happen.
He said we had probably 2 votes.
Yeah.
That he felt we'd get 2 votes.
The head administrator, Bob Weissman, spoke to me. He came up to me and said, "Jeff, I don't know what's going to happen here. It doesn't look very good, but he said we're going to go forward and do it." And so I sat down thinking, "Okay, Lord, if it's a no, it's a no. We'll go, we'll go somewhere else and do something else, and or continue where we are." Because we had all kinds of plans for the campus we were at. We were ready to build buildings there. And
actually, that's why the county came to us.
That's right.
Because we were getting ready to draw permits up.
That's right. We had plans drawn and everything for new classroom buildings at that time. But Bob Weissman got down. He actually came down off of his spot and got down in front of the county commission and went through all the steps that we had gone through. Everything that had happened, almost week by week through the whole process, and how above board it had been and how completely honest everything had been. And when he finished, I think the chairman at the time asked for comments or anybody else, anything else to talk about. I don't think anybody spoke. There was a few people that got up and said a few words. I got up and said something, and then he called for the vote, and it was a 7-0 vote. And you could have knocked me over. I almost fell off my chair. I looked around at me and I said, "Did that just happen?" I could not believe it. And I've never in my life felt a weight. It was a physical weight that came off my shoulders at that minute. I didn't even know I was carrying it. But it was, I went out of there bounding. It was unbelievable. And from that time, I've never doubted that that new campus was where God wanted us. I don't care what anybody says. There's no way that vote was going to go that way. No way possible. We broke ground on that thing even before we had all the permits. I'm pretty sure, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Because it was really pushing it, to be able to finish the project on time. We had a certain number of years at the old campus that we were allowed to stay there. We were leasing it from the airport. They had already purchased it, so we had the $14.5 million from that to work with. And I set up a trailer on the property for my dad to be there all day long, every day pretty much, except in the summertime when he went to North Carolina. And I was out there a lot, was out there at least a few times a week. And that campus came together in about 16 months, I think. And we moved our stuff over. We started school before we had the final permit. And we got it about 3 days later, I think.
Well, the King's Academy Preschool was actually born out of failure. Jeff Loveland and I had met with Kevin Mahoney down at the First Baptist Church of West Palm Beach, and we intended to have a satellite campus of kindergartners down there. Well, we felt that God was leading us to have satellite campuses, so it was very disappointing when no parents were interested in having their children there. So we came back and regrouped, and with a Linda Faircloth's idea, we decided to set up a preschool at the First Baptist Church of Royal Palm Beach, where her husband Dale is actually the pastor. And we made arrangements with the church and hired Mary Dolkowski to be our director of the preschool. And she and her husband and a lot of people worked over the summer frantically to be able to open in time for the fall. And we opened with about 15 students, and we're pretty happy because the break-even point for a preschool was 12 students. And by the end of the year, we had 40 students at First Baptist Church in Royal Palm Beach. Beginning in the fall of 2010, the King's Academy Online will be opening, and that will allow students to get all of the academic requirements that they need to actually graduate from the King's Academy without actually setting foot on our physical campus here.